Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome to episode 20 of the Deu Awuok Show, where it is my job to interview professional and collegiate soccer players about their life journeys around the beautiful game. On this episode, I speak with Ernest Bawa, a player for Syracuse University. Amongst other things, we talk about his experience growing up in Accra, Ghana, playing for the Right to Dream Academy, his high school experience at the Taft School, where he won the Gatorade State Player of the Year, as well as his D1 recruiting process and experience at UNC. This conversation brought back some fond memory for me from when I came to the States. It was super engaging, super insightful, and extremely inspiring. And I hope that you enjoy it. Ernest, welcome to the pod. Thanks for joining me, man.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I'm really excited for this conversation. Let's start with introduction. So tell us your full name, where you're from, and an interesting fact about you.
So my name is Ernest Bawa. I'm known as Bawa, my last name. And I'm originally from Ghana. And interesting fact. I'm kind of a boring guy, to be honest. So I guess you're gonna have to get to know me to see what's interesting about me, I guess.
Okay, we'll take that. What was life like growing up in Porto, Ghana, and when did you start playing soccer?
So I was actually born in Porto, Ghana, but I didn't really grow up there. At the age of 4 or 5, I came to the main city, Accra, and that's where I grew up. And life was, I mean, for me, life was fun. It was simple. There was a lot of different people from different backgrounds. We call them tribes, different tribes. So it was like everybody had their own local language, but one thing we all had in common was like literally everybody in Ghana loved to play soccer. That's kind of how I got into the game, and I just loved playing it. And it was very competitive because like you know everybody wants to make it. So it's like you're friends, but you're not friends really. So like when you
Yeah.
get on the field, it's like the camaraderie and everything is gone. Like we're trying to kill each other. But once we're off the field, we're buddies again and all that. So it was a really interesting way to grow up, and I actually miss it.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And speaking of that competitive nature, you came through the ranks at the Right to Dream Academy, arguably one of the most successful, one of the best academies in the whole of Africa. Produced the players of the likes of Mohamed Kudus, who's playing in the Premier League with West Ham right now. For those not familiar with the academy and just how hard it is to get into the academy, talk to us about your trial experience.
So with Right to Dream, you can't really commit to Right to Dream or
Hmm.
um, buy your way into Right to Dream. They have to come find you, and I think that's actually the best part of it. Like the talent search process, and so like example for me, I was in a shaman in the city in Accra,
Hmm.
and it's like the week before we heard news that Right to Dream was going to be in the town. We called it Justify, which is literally a
Hmm.
tournament where people are selected. So everybody was like, "Oh, Right to Dream is coming for Justify." So people will go buy new boots, new jerseys, just trying to look good and like get ready for it. And I didn't really know anything about it, but like the word was going around because I didn't really know anything about Right to Dream at the time. At
Hmm.
the time, there was a different academy that I actually like knew a lot about. So Ratchet Dream was still new for me at the time, and um, the time came and I was playing for this team. We called it the Coast League. I was playing for this team, and the coach called me. He's like, "Yo, what are you doing Saturday? Ratchet Dream is in town. I want all my best players to go play, and whatever happens, happens." And I showed up that day, and it was like 300-400 kids, um, and it's like they had to like put us into like it seemed like thousands of teams. Like my team, I was waiting to play, and it's like we were there in the morning. I didn't end up playing until like 2. So
Wow.
like it was kind of a tough process, and then we ended up playing, and then out of that whole thing, they selected one guy. And then they did that whole thing in different parts of Ghana at the same time, and they
Hmm.
brought all the finalists together in the capital city, Accra. That's actually where Kudus is from. And then we went there, and we went to play there, and out of that whole thing, they selected 21 guys, like out of literally the whole Ghana, 21 guys. They took us to the academy, and at the time when we went to the academy, the guys who were at the academy were on break. It was summer break for them, so we were there for a month before they came back. And then every week they send some guys home. Like literally, you don't want to be like you don't want to hear your name at the end of the week. So every week they
Wow.
will send guys home. They kept cutting it down until it was seven of us left, and then the academy reopened, and the kids, everybody came back to the academy. So we actually joined the guys, but we didn't have our scholarship yet. So while the guys went to school in like their academy uniform, I was still wearing my old white t-shirt and all that. So like I literally stood out, and all seven of us stood out too, including Michael Leon. I was actually in the same Justify as
Hmm.
Michael Leon, and we did that for 3 months, and then again every month, some guys go home, you know, and it ended up with two of us, well, three of us, me, Michael, and another guy called Eugen, and then we got our scholarship to join the academy. So the whole process ended up taking like 6 months, like total, and
Wow.
I can say it's like it started with my town was like 300-400 guys, and then
Hmm.
obviously Michael's town had like 300-400 guys and all that, and then they just weeded out, and then last three, and then we got the scholarship. Dude, it's like once you get the scholarship, you're like exhausted, like you were like tired. But
Wow.
after you get the scholarship, that's when you have to take it up a notch. Like you have to like step it up because everybody in the academy is talented. Everybody in the academy is good. Like you're
Hmm.
literally sitting in the classroom, or you're training with guys that the likes of Kudus, Diomande, Imano Danso, Kamal Dean. You're sitting the likes of people who are going to play in the Champions League in the future. So like you have to bring your A game every single day. So some people think once you're in the academy, you relax and everything comes to you. But no, once you're in the academy, you literally like have to turn it up. That's when things like things get real. But yeah, that's kind of how the journey started, and that's kind of how the selection process goes for Right to Dream.
That is insanity. I mean, the odds are just staggering, and to go through that period for 6 months and to do it at a young age is quite incredible. This was like when you were like 11, 10, or how old were you?
9, 10.
Wow.
Yeah, I see. So like the other thing too is like at that time you're like just so excited to play, um, and then you get to the academy, and what seemed like something that was so fun for you to play and enjoy is like literally something that you needed to work out. So you have to like take sometimes you have to take the fun out of it and actually be serious about it, and then after you can still like find a way to enjoy it again. So it's just like it's a whole lot of things like involved in that process. So yeah, it's not an easy process for sure.
No, it sounds insane, and to do it at that young age is it's quite impressive because you're still developing, and this is very challenging mentally to go through. So I can only imagine what it did for you in terms of like that mental resilience to be able to kind of push through those hardships. You spent, I believe, what, 4 years at the Right Stream Academy?
Yeah.
4 years at the Right Dream Academy, and then you left the Right to Dream and moved to the States. Right? You went to the Taft School in Connecticut, where you continue your soccer and academic journey. I remember back in South Sudan in Africa, I would hear stories of America, right? Some of which were true and some were maybe exaggerated. Uh, Talk to us about your adjustment to the U.S. and what are the things that maybe surprised you when you first came here?
Well, it's funny you bring out South Sudan and like your perception about American school and all that. Look, when I was coming to the States, the only idea I had about high school in America was from High School Musical. Uh, Dude, I love the movie, man. Like, um, I was like, oh my god, like every high school in America is like that. Like, so I was just so excited to go, experience that for myself. But um, definitely hit me like a wave. It was a culture shock. Like culture shock in every possible way you could think of. From the food to the language to the people to like just the opportunities that were available for me. And immediately I stepped foot in America was just like mind blowing. And there's so many times where, especially in my English class, this is the first
Right.
class I took Taft. Every time I said something, somebody would be like, "Can you say that again?" Like, or I'll say something, the teacher would be like, "Yeah, who else?" And then after class, he'd call me in, and then he'd be like, when you're talking, can you talk a little slower? So like some of us don't really understand you and all that. I'm like, bro, Like I trying my best to bring out my best English right now. It was either that or let's say we're hanging out, with my friend. Like I'm hanging out with my friends or something, and I'll say something, and they're like, "Yo, say that again. That was dope. That was so crazy." And like it just you get to the point where it's like you don't even want to speak anymore because like
Yeah,
it's, you see that people are telling you to repeat yourself because they don't understand you or say it again because what you said sounded funny,
yeah,
and it just like took a while for me to like actually like I learned a lot from music
hmm,
and just movies in general and shows. So that's how I kind of learned like English and like try to like blend it a little bit. I still have my accent every now and then, but for the most part, I think I'm able to like hold a conversation without people really like telling me they don't understand what I'm saying. But yeah, and then also there was food. I struggle with like American food and all that. And Taft's was like a predominantly white, community. There wasn't really any African restaurant there.
yeah,
I didn't even have a license. I didn't even know I could get a license to go get it.
yeah,
It's like everything was just so new to me. But year after year, month after month, I actually started learning the ropes and you know started asking more questions, and then things started becoming a little easier for me. But like from the jump, it was just culture shock after culture shock. Like there were so many times where like my friends would be like, "Oh, my mom got mad at me. Um, she cut my, I'm grounded," or like my phone bill. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm like, that's it. Like that's like back home, if my mom was mad at me, it would be completely different. Like you don't understand. So
yeah.
yeah, definitely, it was definitely a lot different for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, it's funny. I had identical experience in terms of differences in culture, in the food, the weather, and just the language barrier. I remember when I first came here, I also didn't like the food because I wasn't used to it. And I think the first week in school, I barely spoke like English. I knew a couple words, but I wasn't eating. But I got thirsty, and so I wanted some water. And I was like, the way we pronounce water was very different from the way they pronounce it here. So I was like, "Wata, wata," and the classmates are like, "What? What are you saying?" I was like, "Wata," and so I do this right to like signal that I need something to drink. They go and they grab like a carton of the orange juice, right? You know those cartons they had in elementary school, and I was like, "No, no, 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 wata, wata." And after like 5 minutes, bro, I don't know how I did it, but I know how to spell water. So I was like, "Wata, Water." Like, oh, water, and they like point me at the water fountain, and it was literally like that for the first 2 years in the States, where it was just like tough to like communicate.
dude, it was something. Like I remember my first training session. Um,
Yeah,
it was like you have to like assert yourself on a team, especially if you're
yeah,
like if the recruiters come play. So every
yeah.
time I give the ball to somebody, I pass the ball. I give information. I give it the ball. I'm like one touch. I give it the ball. I'm like man on. Every time I give the ball to this guy, I'm like 10, 10. And then like he keeps passing it back to me. I'm like, and I pass it to him again. I'm like 10, 10. Like, the whole time, like the whole practice, he kept messing it up. And then every time I was like, yo, 10, 10. And then he came up to me. He was like, "Yo, what does that mean?" I'm like, "No, when I give you the ball, there's nobody behind you, so 10." And he was like, "Oh, you want me to turn?" I was so like, dude, I was just so embarrassed. Like, I was like, "I'm not talking anymore." And then when you said that, everybody started laughing. Literally, everybody started laughing. But it was just like, I still remember it to this day. Yeah, that's how scarred I am. I still remember it
Yeah,
to this.
it's funny, and we've come a long way because you're very articulate now, and you've gone to UNC and graduated from there, and you've done a lot. So it's quite impressive. Really, really happy to see that for you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. It's a learning process for sure. I'm still learning.
Yeah, and it's just fun now. You can look back on it. I'm sure when we're going through those processes, it wasn't fun, right? You felt like an outsider, you didn't fit in. But I think it's fun to look back on those memories now.
Yeah, it's nice not to stand out like in that way anymore. So
Yeah. Speaking of UNC, you committed to play D1 soccer there. Talk to us about your recruiting process and why you decided to go with them over some of the other schools that you were considering.
well, I think mine was like kind of like overwhelming. Actually, it was very overwhelming because I came to the states. I didn't really know anything about college soccer. I didn't really know anything about you know um, just the whole. procedure. You had to go from high school to college to the pros if you're lucky. And so after my freshman season, I started getting recruited by Wake Forest, and
Hmm.
a bunch of other schools, UConn, just to name a few. Um, so I was like, why are these schools like trying to talk to me? So at the time, you can like still reach out to the players through your their head coach. So
Hmm.
like they could reach out to me through my Taft coach, um,
Hmm.
and I was like, Wake Forest offered me something like a full ride my freshman year. So at the time, I didn't really know that it was a big deal. And then my coach ended up like announcing it at practice, and everybody went nuts. Everybody was like, "Yo, that's crazy! Your freshman year!" Like I was like, what were you guys like talking about? Like, what's this thing?" So I didn't
Yeah.
really pay no mind to it. And then um, I had my sophomore season, and then right after the season ended, UNC came in the picture, and joined like a list of schools that were trying to get my signature and all that. And then I was like, I haven't really heard about UNC. So I started actually looking into UNC. I saw the
Hmm.
history. I saw everything, they've achieved, and like, the colors, the campus, and all that. And the fact that it's like the country's first public, school. So I thought it was like really cool history and like really cool school. And they also play like D1 soccer, and I just wanted to be at other place where I felt like it would help me make the jump to pro. So that, along with other talks with my family and all that, made me kind of choose UNC over all the schools. But definitely, it was a overwhelming process, especially my freshman year when all the schools started coming in. I really didn't know anything about college soccer. So yeah.
I can imagine to get that amount of interest and to not have the context for what was happening must have been tough. But it looked like you had the people around you to kind of guide you, and it worked out for you. When did you commit to UNC? Was that sophomore or junior year?
Sophomore year.
Sophomore year.
It was kind of nice to get it done with. Again, I didn't really know it was a big deal. Every year people were like, in their senior years trying to like figure out where they're gonna go, where they're gonna play soccer next. And I was fortunate enough to have known where I was gonna go my sophomore year already. So like, I didn't really have to worry about that. Um, and everything was out of picture. All I just needed to do was just graduate, and I already knew where I was going. So I guess I didn't really appreciate it at the time. Again, I didn't know like exactly what I had at the time, but like now that I look back at it, it was definitely like something that kind of like reduced a lot of stress for me. I didn't really have to worry about that. I didn't have to think about that at all. So I was definitely fortunate for that, for sure.
Absolutely true there, because I think I committed my, yeah, I think the last semester before I graduated my high school. So up until that, I was like reaching out to email like the coaches, sending out my highlight tape, attending ID camps and things of that nature. So to be able to have that wrapped up, well in advance definitely helped. I guess talking about high school soccer generally, like you had an incredible career, right? Were named Gatorade State Player of the Year, All State All American, amongst a number of other awards. Talk to us about your high school soccer experience.
So high school soccer was for me like um, it was competitive, but I obviously I came from Ghana, especially right to Dream Academy. The
Hmm.
competition in the academy was like light years ahead of what high school soccer really provided. But I think it was good because for a guy, like for guys like me who are coming from a different continent in general,
Hmm.
need things to be a little not easy, but like a little watered down, so you can like get your foot in and like know what you're doing. And I had a really good support system in high school, especially with my coach. His name is Ozzy Parenti.
Hmm.
He's my guy. Like he was like my best friend. I still talk to him to this day. He kind of made things a lot easier for me. Um, but even with high school soccer, it's like now there's more attention to high school soccer, especially in New England, and like more schools are reaching out to recruit players now, especially from Right to Dream Academy. When I first came, especially my freshman year, I thought the level of competition was not as high as I expected, but every
Hmm.
year it got better. Every year it got more competitive. Every year, Berkshire, like Hotchkiss, Millbrook, all these schools like started recruiting more and more players, not only from Africa but from Europe and like other countries, just like increase the competition in the league. So I felt like I went at a good time where like my first year maybe it wasn't like as hard, and then like every year it started getting harder and harder, and then I
Hmm.
had to work harder and harder to try to be at the top every year, and I think that kind of helped me make the jump to college and not struggle as much. So yeah, definitely high school soccer is getting better, like year by year, and like even now when you look back if you look at some schools in high school play each other, you're like wow, like you can look at a school play like Taft play Berkshire. Maybe like look at a video now and then look at a video from my freshman year.
Yeah.
The talent pool is just completely different now. So kudos like to the coaches, for increasing their recruiting ability and all that. So it's definitely getting better and better for sure.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I guess when you come from, I guess, a high level of soccer, right? Right to Dream Academy, one of the best academies in the world, to like a high school level soccer, right? It's in terms of the talent level, in terms of competition, it's a step down. How do you manage to like not lower your standards to that level and maintain a good enough intensity and discipline to be able to kind of move beyond the high school and go play at the collegiate level?
So I think what worked for me was like um when I first came, I wasn't really big into like social media and all that stuff. 'Cause I really own a phone in Ghana, so like I got here, I literally I owned a computer, phone. I was like, I thought I was in heaven. So um, a lot of things didn't really get in my head like that. I was still so loud. I was very aggressive and demanding of my teammates
Hmm.
because I just like I guess I was used to better competition and like high intensity. Every time my teammates drop the intensity a little bit, you're gonna hear it from me. And I had a good support system, especially in my coach, that every time he'll call me. He's like, "Hey, Bawa, you want to go to the field to do this?" Or like I actually reach out to him, Coach. You want to help me out? Like I'm gonna go hit free kicks or like do some drills and all that stuff. And he kind of helped me set it up and help me find a program to like keep working on. And after the fall season was done, we had club soccer. And again, my coach came in like really, really like helpful because club soccer was like 45 minutes away, an hour away. It's like 2 hours or 3 hours round trip. I don't have a car. I can't drive. I look to my coach or other adults to like drive me and some of the guys, on my high school team. And then like 90% of the time it was my high school coach, Ozzy Parenti, that would drive us back and forth just to make sure we got some good competition in. We're
Hmm.
training, playing, we're happy. And that's kind of how I kind of dealt with it. So like the minute the season ended, we were looking forward to club soccer, and every year my coach was there to help me make sure like I got that competition in, I got my training in, and I was I guess satisfied with how much I guess training I was getting. So yeah.
No, that's dope, and then I think you did it the right way because in that scenario you have two options, right? You can lower your standards to meet everybody else's, or you can raise the standard and bring them up with you, which is harder to do because it's one of you and there's everybody else, right? So kudos to you for taking the latter approach. Um, Going on to college, right? Uh, I think you had a number of injuries at UNC, if that correct. I guess how would you describe adjusting to the D1 level and talk about those injuries and how they might have impacted your career at UNC?
Yeah, in injuries, I don't really wish that on anybody. It's just something that every athlete has to deal with. You don't know when it's coming. It's just
Hmm.
like looming around. For me, I never got injured in my career. Like I literally get into nasty tackles and I'll just get up and just shake it off and like I felt like I was invisible. Sometimes I even go to the field and like I don't really do a lot of like a good stretch or a warm up. I just get in. I'm like I'm young. I'm good. I can do this. I mean, you understand me.
Yeah.
And got to college, and then I had bilateral hip surgery. I had to get both hips done. I tore my hip labrums. I was out for like 6 months. Came back, it took a while to like start playing like the way I wanted to play again, but
Hmm.
you have to work on fitness. You have to, the mental part of the game is also there. COVID hit, so like everything was still like out there, and like I still had to like try to find a way to get myself back to where I was. And then I had 5 surgeries in 2.5 years,
Wow.
and two hip surgeries, and I broke my ankle. I had to do surgery there twice, and then my wrist, I had to do surgery there. So it was just like a lot of surgeries and like a lot of minor injuries, even if it wasn't a surgery. And
Hmm.
I just felt like every time you know, especially my sophomore year in college, I started the season off really good when I came back from my hip surgeries. I was doing really well, and then they started bothering me again, and so I had to sit out a little bit, and then I was just, on and off, and that really doesn't help a player, especially if you're trying to find your form again and like start playing well again. So I definitely, if I had any advice to anybody, I just pray that injuries do not disrupt your development, because it's priceless, man. What game time can do for you, especially in your confidence. And then obviously, when I started getting healthy again, I had to work on confidence because it's like I've been out of the game for so long that I literally forgot what the game was like. Sometimes, I'll be training, I'll get the ball, I'll turn, and I'm like, all right, so what do I do with the ball now? Like, it's like you kind of forget a little bit of the things. So you just have to like give yourself time and time and time and be patient with yourself. Um, but at the end of the day, you just have to like, I guess, trust in the process because the process is real, man.
Hmm.
It's very real. So you just gotta trust the process. Trust in the work you put in that like you're still gonna find your game again. Um, and it didn't take. It took me like all the way to my senior year to find my game again. And I felt like my senior year, especially getting to like mid season, I felt like I was playing like my old self again. Felt I was doing well, but you could say it was too late. But thanks to COVID, I never thought I would say thanks to COVID ever, but thanks to COVID, I still have one more year, and I was like, why not? Let's use it because now I'm feeling like myself again. Let's see what I can do when I'm fully healthy and fully confident in my abilities again. So it definitely took a lot of patience and a lot of work, some sleepless nights, but I'm glad I made it out, and hopefully I'm able to keep developing again and make up for all the years that I missed on development and you know still get to the next level. That's still the goal. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to go from not having much of injuries and then to have a number of surgeries, um, it's quite a lot, and it can be very tough mentally to deal with, right? Because these are things out of your control. And soccer is such a big part of your identity, right? You've been playing it since you were what, 5, 6 years old. You've left the country you grew up in to come to the States to pursue this. How do you manage to deal with that mentally? And what kept you, I guess, motivated and optimistic to kind of keep pushing through these injuries and to be able to bounce back?
I mean, that's like a really great question because I always tell people that I've been blessed with my support, a really good support system. Um, my host family, they've helped me so much since I've been in the States. They've kind of helped take a lot of worries off my plate. A lot of
Hmm.
answers that I never thought I would find to questions that I've been asking were answered when I met them.
Hmm.
Giving me necessary advice, here and there, and even through my surgery process. Every time I had surgery, my host mom was there. Um, you know, to make sure I had food. I had literally everything. Or every time there was something that came up again with injuries and all that. Um, they'll probably fly me home and then I go see a doctor and all that, and like just try to make sure I got back as soon as possible because they knew how important the game was to me. Um, and my host's siblings, my host, I have two brothers and a sister. They were very very supportive. They weren't too tough with me. They were very very supportive throughout the
Hmm.
process. I don't know if I tell them enough, but like I really appreciate everything they've done. But like it's just like good to have like a good support system, including my friends. You know, every time like I felt like my head was down and I was just feeling sorry for myself, people were not like helping me like be like down all the time and all that. They were like remind me, or you came all the way here to play soccer. This is just an injury. Like you're gonna, get out of it, get back, and then start playing again and doing what you love. So having people like that remind you and also be there for you to help you through the difficult times was like kind of how I kind of kept my head above water. And I guess it's just like so important to always make sure that you have like the right people around you, because there are some people that when things start getting tough, they're gonna leave, or sometimes they don't even leave. They just don't notice what you're going through. But it's important to have people that don't need you to tell them that I'm struggling. And even when you're pushing them away, they're still there, knowing that you just don't want to like be vulnerable. And again, my girlfriend has also helped a lot, especially at UNC when I started dealing with like my injuries, especially in my senior year. So definitely surrounding myself with like a good support system has helped me stay on track for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, and that not that I would ever wish those injuries on anybody, but um, I'm sure they've helped you, right? Now that you've gone past those will be experiences you can look back on. You know, God forbid something like this happens in the future, and use those as references, right? Kind of like how when you were younger, trying out for the Right Dream Academy, you had to go through a 6 months grueling process to just make the team. Hopefully these are things you can add to your inventory to help you in your future endeavors. As you alluded to earlier, your junior senior year started, get back into rhythm and find your confidence again. Confidence was something I struggled with, right, in college. Like to go from like captain, senior, best player on the team, like never really getting criticized for your soccer or whatever, and then to go to D1 level where pace is different, like the physicality is very different. You're now a freshman. Guys are older than you, faster, stronger than you. Like that took a toll on my confidence, and I don't think I fully ever like got past that. You had issues with confidence, but from being out so long with injuries, how did you deal with like the struggles with confidence, and what could others learn that are going through a similar process?
Well, to be honest with you, like I still deal with that. Um, it's just something that once you deal with, like once you start like having a little shake in your confidence, it just like sticks with you for a little bit, and you just
Hmm.
have to like consistently and constantly remind yourself that you're good, like you're good. And for me, like again, I played in the academy. The way that this is the way I think. I played in the academy with like a lot of really good players, and I still held my own. I survived the academy, and to me, the Right Dream Academy is the hardest thing I could ever be part of. Is the hardest team, the hardest place I could ever be a part of. And the fact that I was able to make it out of Right Dream, the fact that most of my friends are literally all pros, playing like well, just gives me this thing, like this confidence that regardless of what I'm going through, I'm going to be fine. Like, that confidence or lack of confidence I'm having is just going to be temporary. And just like, and also like the other thing is like if when I have the least confidence is when I'm like doing something that I haven't really practiced or like
Hmm.
not really familiar with. So let's say I'm about to take a free kick and I haven't hit free kicks in a while. I'm like second guessing myself the whole time. I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna sky this thing. It's not gonna. I'm gonna hit the wall and all that. But once I practice over and over and over again, and I'm training, I do my 1v1s. I'm training my 1v1s. I'm doing my cone work. I'm doing all these things. Once the occasion comes, it's almost like you just relax because you've like trained your body to deal with it. Um, but if you haven't trained your body to deal with it, how can you relax and be confident you can do it? But because I've trained my body to deal with it, I know I'm confident, and I know that at least I have put in the work to get here. If I lose the ball, like the guy was just better than me, but confidence wise, I did my part and I prepared for this situation. So yeah.
No, it's funny you brought up that latter point because KK actually said the same thing where it was like, and I think having done something outside of practice or outside of games that you're like comfortable doing, like kind of helps with that confidence. And again, it goes back to that point of preparation and practice, right? So that to reiterate your point is just looking back on your experiences and where you've come and the levels you played at, and then also just practicing off on your own to kind of give you that confidence that you can do what you want to do. And I think for me also something that I did was I look back at my old highlight tapes. I would like from high school. I would watch those tapes and like kind of remind myself what I could do, right? Because again, you mentioned this earlier. I was thinking instead of just playing. Like I would get the ball and I'd be like, "Don't lose the ball," or as opposed to like just naturally playing as what I see, right? I think sometimes when you struggle with confidence, you think too much and you really you shouldn't be thinking. You just play like what comes natural to you and not overthink things. I think those are probably like what helps a lot.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you're like used to practicing literally, I mean, obviously you cannot practice every scenario that happens in a game or
Hmm.
practice, but if you're always like investing time in your craft and like doing some personal stuff and training here and there and just investing in yourself from like every day, I feel like that kind of in itself takes care of the confidence part, and that's kind of what I think we see in like elite players. And they're able to do things, and we're like sitting here like, oh my god, how did he do that? Like, I'm sure if you go ask those players, they don't even know like they can't even explain it or put it to words. It's just like they've been training for like practicing those things for like so long that it just comes so natural to them and the body just
Hmm.
responds that moment. And also comes down to the intensity of your training and your personal practice. If you're going to go train and practice and just like slack off and all that, obviously you're not going to get anything from it. But if you're actually doing everything game speed, paying attention to every little detail and all that, like sometimes when I'm practicing my free kicks, like in my head, I'm like, all right, this is like the 94th minute in the game. Like if I lose this, like my team loses or something like that. And it sounds so stupid and sounds so childish. Like, and like I literally do it and I'm celebrating too. Like, and it's just me on the field. And then, like, it just like, if you can convince yourself mentally, at least mentally, that this is the situation you're in and you train in that situation, I think it really helps. And that's kind of how I guess I view it, and that's kind of how I go about it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And speak of free kicks, I actually before this episode, I was watching your highlight tapes, and I think like 70-80% of the goals you will score are just straight bangers, bro. Like the free kicks, the long distance shots, like the whip with the left foot, those were quite incredible goals. So I guess your hard work showing off there, and then you visualizing what you're gonna do before you do it. Because of COVID, right, and the season that was canceled, the NCAA gave all the players another year of eligibility. You took them up on the offer and decided to play it. But you decided to leave UNC and transfer to Syracuse University. Talk to us about your thought process as you made that decision to leave UNC and go to Syracuse.
Well, so the thing was also like a lot of things came together for me to make that decision. And sometimes like when you're in an environment where like you're getting a lot of injuries and like back to your point about confidence, it's just like some things are just like not fitting right and all that. You just like you have to look out for yourself and like just put yourself in a situation or like in a different environment, and hopefully when you leave that environment, things are gonna like fall into place for you and like be a little different. Um, Obviously, when I decided to leave UNC, I didn't want to go to like a place where like I'll be like the guy on the team without even trying. I still wanted to go to a place where like was equal to UNC, and if I could find better, that I would have gone there. I chose Syracuse because Syracuse was still in the ACC, and they had won the national championship 2 years ago, and I just felt like I still needed to test myself, but I wanted to do it in a different environment and see if I could do it. This is more of a test to see if I can do it somewhere else other than UNC. And obviously, I wish things went well at UNC and I didn't have to like take my COVID year and all that stuff because
Hmm.
I love the campus. I love my friends here. And, I love my teammates. But it just comes to the point where you just have to look out for yourself and just put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and see if you can like grow as a person, and also like give yourself the best chance to succeed and make it to the next level.
Absolutely. Have you guys started spring season yet? And if so, how is that going? And how's the team looking for the upcoming season?
So we actually just finished our spring season. It was an interesting one. It was cold. Oh my god! Like it was so cold,
Upstate New York is cold, bro.
dude. Like I mean, I got spoiled at UNC. We get like 40 degrees, and we're all like in our big jackets, and we are like, "Oh, it's so cold. I don't want to go to class, dude." Like it was like -2, and we're still like going to class. And I was looking at people like they were stupid. Like I'm like, why do you live here? Like this place should not be a place where people live. But it was snowing all the time. Either if it wasn't snowing, it was raining. Like one time it was like hot in the morning. Um, by 10 or like 11, it was raining. By well 3, it started like getting really cold, and like by 7, it was snowing. And I was like, one day, it's just in just one day, I got 4 different like it was just like intense. But spring was fun. We played our home games indoors, except for our last game.
Mhm.
Um, we I think we tied our first 2, maybe first one, and then we won the rest. Syracuse has a lot of transfers, including me, a lot of new guys because they pretty much graduated a lot of the starting team. So it's going to be a really like new team, but some reason we're bonding a lot together, and it just goes to show the strength of the Syracuse locker room. It's like we spend a lot of time together, and if you look at our first game, and then you look at our last game, you just see the difference. Because the first game we didn't really know each other, and like we just
Mhm.
had like a week of training and all that. But in the last game, we were just like flowing. I mean, we still have a long ways to go, and we're still expecting some transfer guys to come in. But so far, I'm like actually very optimistic, and I'm actually looking forward to going back in the fall to playing because we have a good group, and I think if we have the right mindset and get the right things together, we can do really big things. But definitely a good spring. Definitely good for me to be able to like join them in the spring and assert myself and like
Mhm.
prove that I can play. And you know, I think it's going well. I think it's going well so far. I'm actually looking forward to it. So yeah.
That's dope to hear. I'm excited for you and for the team, and I'll try to catch out that game. I think you guys play Boston College this year, right? Like you guys in the same conference.
Yeah.
Is it Boston College?
Yeah, we're actually traveling to Boston to play Boston College. So
I'll try to come catch that game and hope you guys do well there. Um, Last couple questions for you on this segment of the pod. Highlight of your soccer career so far.
my COVID year, the COVID year, you know how like a lot of conferences did not play, and then ACC was the only team that actually played.
Yep.
Um, I think Marshall won that year NCAA tournament.
Yep.
I had just gotten back from my hip surgeries, and somehow I was in the lineup, but I wasn't obviously playing. I was like in the lineup,
Hmm.
and I was on the bench, and we made it to the tournament. And I think it was the first round or second round, and we played. I want to say UNC Charlotte, and it was 1-1 penalty shootout, and I had the last kick, and I scored, and we won to the next round. It was like surreal. It was a fun moment for me. I still have videos about that day. Um, and then the other one, I guess, will be we played a team from Georgia,
Uh-huh.
and it was tied 0-0 the whole half, and I came off the bench with like I think 10 minutes left, and we got a free kick at the top of the box. And then the minute I got the free kick, I looked. My teammates gave me the ball, and I actually somehow saw people take out their phones to record.
Uh-huh.
And I I had never been that calm in my life. I was so calm, and I already knew I was going to score, and I
Wow.
just felt like a lot of people knew I was going to score, and I just hit it, and it went in, and it's like I think it's like the highlight because it goes to my preparation that I had gotten like 2 or 3 free kicks in the season like leading to that,
Hmm.
and every time I took the free kick, I hit the crossbar or I hit the post. So
Yep.
I think people knew that I could score that, and like the fact that my teammates were so excited for me when I was finally on the field when we got the free kick. I think it just showed that they've seen how much work I've been putting in practice and like outside practice, and they just had so much belief in me that I was going to score, and that kind of made me feel very calm that they knew what I was capable of, and it just made it easier for me to like execute it. So um, that's definitely, I think that's definitely my proudest moment for sure.
That's incredible. When preparation meets opportunity, you took
Yes.
you took care of it. So that's dope. On the flip side, what would you say has been the low light of your soccer journey so far?
Definitely the injuries, especially when I had my ankle injury my junior year. I was just training with NYCFC and I was actually doing really, really well. And like nobody touched me, nothing happened. I was just running and my ankle just like tweaked in a little bit and I had a pop sound and it literally broke. Like nobody touched me at all. I was completely fine.
Wow.
And then came back. I had surgery 2 days after that actually, and then came back. But the screws they put in there, one of them was not in the right place, so I had to do another surgery to readjust this screws, and that pushed it back a lot, like my season back a lot. And it's like my last surgery. It was at that point I was done. I was like, how many surgeries can I have? How many more games can I sit out? Like, and in my junior year, like my time is almost done in college. How am I gonna
Mhm.
like prove myself and get drafted to the next level? So it was definitely like one where I just like it's like my whole life flashed in front of me. I'm like, oh my god, I'm done. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, that's definitely like my lowest moment for sure.
Sorry to hear them, but happy you're past there now, and you're back. Fitness wise, and you got one more shot at it. So that's
Yeah.
exciting time. One of the things I love about soccer and sports generally is the applicability of the things you learn on the field, right, or on the court, or whatever. Those things you can apply to your life, right? And for me personally, there's a lot of life lessons I learned playing soccer that I can now apply to my everyday life, right? Whether it's with my job, relationship with family and friends, whatever the case may be. What advice do you have for young soccer players or people generally speaking who want to like improve their life, or improve the situation? What advice do you have for them?
Well, long story short, just keep punching, bro. Like I think everybody, especially athletes, especially soccer players, you're gonna get to a point in your career where your back is against the wall. The only way you can get out of it is just like keep your head down and just start swinging. Like because the minute you start fighting, it's like it's done, and you don't want to live with regret. So, um, like I joke a lot with my friends that you know we say something in Ghana like yang grimobia, like we're not just gonna sit there and just like let people have their way. We're just gonna start swinging. We're gonna start fighting. Once you are still in the fight, once you show that you're still fighting, once you show that you're still hungry, that's when things come to you. Like nothing ever came to anybody who was just sitting in bed, like feeling bad for themselves or feeling sorry for themselves. So, uh, I think my biggest advice is just to keep grinding, keep fighting, keep putting yourself out there, keep being uncomfortable, and just get the right people around you, and you're gonna be good.
No, super super valuable advice there. I think 100% agree with you there. I think having grit, right, being able to like bounce back from setbacks is probably the most important indicator for success in life, right? Whether that's sports or just generally speaking, because things are gonna happen to you. Things are just outside your control can happen to you. Um, how do you like bounce back from those? How do you react to those? I think that's gonna be a big determinant of where you end up, because a lot of times it's just so much easier to like give in and throw your hands up and like, well, I did all I can, like it just wasn't meant to be, right? But I think being persistent and being disciplined and be able to bounce back, I think goes a long way. um
Putting yourself first too. Like you just have to put yourself first, like literally all the time, especially in this college system that we are in. People are gonna tell you they want the best, your best interest, but the only person that wants the best interest is yourself. Maybe your mom. So, but you can always trust yourself to want your best interest, and once you start trusting yourself and putting yourself first, I think you can be able to like I guess fight more and put yourself out there. So yeah.
Agree. All right, let's switch to the last segment of the podcast. I know we've taken a lot of your time here, so I want to wrap it up. But this is the rapid fire questions. So for the first one, best player you ever played with?
Ooh. Um, Emmanuel Danso. Uh, uh, he's in Sweden right now, but hands down. Well, it's pretty close. Especially my age group is pretty close. I can
Yeah.
list like 10 people, but I learned a lot from him, for sure. That's why I'm gonna put him out there.
Okay. Best player you ever played against?
Angel Gomez. He used to play for Manchester United.
Hmm.
I don't know where he's playing now, but in 2015, we went to Europe to play a tournament, the Nike Premier Cup, and we played Manchester United, and we won 2-0, but he tore us apart. Like he was different. Like, he's different gravy. But yeah,
Hot soccer take.
Messi's the greatest of all time. Like I don't even want to hear any.
Is that really a hot take though?
Well, I still hear some Penaldo fans like out there.
Ronaldo.
The thing that some of them in the street surfing right now, but uh, Messi,
uh,
he completed football. That's it.
I'll give you that. I mean, growing up, I was a Ronaldo fan. I think deep down, I always knew that Messi was better, but I had to kind of go with the story. And my cousin and my brother were all Messi fans, and every day would fight. So I had to kind of prove them wrong until I got older and realized, like, come on, what am I doing here? Let me just enjoy both of them, and admit that Messi is better.
To my point, thinking Ronaldo is better for kids. Like that's child's play. Once you grow
Yeah.
up, you know what's up.
Yeah, yeah. I'm still an Ronaldo fan. I think, but I think for me, I'm a little sad in that like I never really appreciated Messi because it always was like as weird as this might sound, I was praying for his downfall so that I can prove my point. It's so stupid, but the first time I celebrated his goal was like the goal against Mexico in the World Cup. Like that was the first time I was happy for him, and I'm like I've been missing out this whole time.
Dude.
Like
Nah, like, cause I'm always like I'm a big Ronaldinho fan. Like Ronaldinho is the reason I started playing football. Like
yeah,
he's like to me like deep down he's my goat. And you know he was at Barca, and then he said Messi is gonna be the biggest thing ever. So like the minute he said that, I was like already paying attention to see, and like just like literally hoping Ronaldinho was right, and then wow, was he right? Like that just. Uh, so I've been a fan from the get go, from the jump.
nice, nice. Last question for you: Who's winning Euros 2024?
So who is winning and who do I want to win?
Let's hear both. Let's hear both.
Um, you know, I keep hearing them say it's coming home, it's coming home, it's coming home, it's coming home, it's coming home. Dude, it's never home.
It
I will
might come
hope
this year. It might come this year. They got talent. They might.
for their sake. They always have talent every year. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Like
that's true. That's true.
for their sake, I hope they win. Like
Okay.
for their sake. But I think France is gonna take that thing. France for
Okay.
sure.
Okay. Yeah, probably those are probably two favorites. I would probably have to agree. And for those not familiar with soccer, he's referring to England there. Um, I recorded one earlier today. A former teammate of mine, he's French, and obviously he wants French to win. But he was like, he brought up a good point. He's like, I think Germany, like nobody's talking about them, nobody seizes them. But that was his hot take. It's like I think Germany could win Euros.
Well, I feel like Germany have like a younger side now, and I don't really know. Like the one time that I thought Germany was gonna like really do well, dude, they let me down. Honestly, I I guess it's better when you don't see them coming.
Yeah, yeah. No
But
pressure, no expectations.
exactly, I think that's when they perform. So
Yeah,
we'll see how that goes. But definitely hope England is able to win because their home is empty and they keep saying it's coming home. So I hope they finally get something, some silverware.
yeah. For Harry Kane too, man. You just left to go to Bayern Munich and first season there. That is tough.
Dude, and the thing is, he's like, I think to be fair, he's done his part. Like
Yeah,
the
no,
guy
he's
scored like so many goals. Like you can't even like put any blame on him.
no,
But
no.
yeah, wow.
It's unfortunate. He might win the Ballon d'Or if England wins the Euros and he performs like he has been performing. There's an argument to be made that he should win the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, I mean there's an argument for sure, but I mean I feel like Vinicius is on fire right now, and then if Madrid wins the Champions League, like
Yeah,
dude, it's like if they win the Champions League, it's just so hard not to look at him, like and like consider him too. So, yeah,
Okay. I don't want to keep you too long. I really enjoyed this conversation. But for those that want to follow your journey, both at Syracuse and hopefully at the professional level, where can they find you?
Um, well, this is crazy. I don't know my Instagram handle, so give me a sec. This is crazy. Yeah, my Instagram is ernest.bawa.10. And I'm literally like, that's kind of the only social media handle I actually really use. As you can see, I don't really use it that much. Um, yeah, if you want to follow me, and I hope you do, that's where you can definitely see the real life updates.
Nice. Really enjoyed this conversation. It brought back some really good memories for me. Hopefully, some valuable insight for young soccer players out there, or people just generally looking to improve their lives and their situations. So, thanks again for taking the time and really enjoyed this conversation.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Also, definitely brought some memories from me, and made me appreciate some things a lot more now that I think about it. So, thank you for that.
Thanks for taking the time out of your day to listen and support this podcast. It is very much appreciated. Please follow the show if you don't already do so. The show can be found on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and the rest of the other major platforms. As always, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Much love. This show is produced by Yak Awok and original music by Scott Holmes.